The Supreme Court ruled Tuesday that campaign finance limits on political parties violate the First Amendment, and it's expected to open up a whole lot more cash to the midterm elections. In a 6-3 decision along ideological lines, the justices struck down coordinated spending limits between federal political candidates and parties. The majority wrote that the limits are not constitutional and found that they're a, quote, severe infringement on First Amendment protected political speech.
The court today said that because there are these other limits in place, these spending caps are no longer necessary to prevent corruption and therefore an unconstitutional restriction on free speech.
The decision sided with Vice President J.D. Vance and other Republican challengers who were targeting limits for donors in the Federal Election Campaign Act. Experts said the decision now changes the election contribution playbook for wealthy donors.
The court has carved out yet another vehicle for wealthy donors to funnel tons of money directly to candidates to help them win elections and ultimately reward those donors with policy decisions that favor their preferences.
In the dissenting opinion, Justice Elena Kagan wrote that the decision, quote, ushers back in the same opportunities for quid pro quo corruption that the contribution limits were meant to check, and went on to say that it ushers in untold harm.
So the big question is, who has more money, the Republicans or the Democrats? All of the politicians are millionaires, even though they're public figures, even though they're public servants. So now there's just a dash and a marathon of who is going to back who. Now, we know that a lot of the Republicans are millionaires. Some of them are billionaires. A lot of them are billionaires, right? Because it's built around business, the Republican Party, American values, and capitalism. The Democrats are also built around capitalism as well, but they also have some donors that I think the Republicans know about. They're called the Jewish people, the Jewish community. They most likely back the Democrats more so than the Republicans, but as of late, it looks like a lot of these Jewish AIPACs and all these other different organizations, maybe they're somewhere in the middle, and we just don't know. But we know historically which they have backed.
What?
So on June 30th of this year, the Supreme Court dropped a whole stack of rulings at once. Birthright citizenship, which we're going to talk about, campaign finance, and a couple of others. And when the court dumps everything on the same morning, the cameras chased the loudest story and the quiet one slips out the back door. Today, I really want to talk about the back door because the ruling that nobody put on the front page is the one that just rewired how money buys power in this country. Did I tell you guys it was all about money? I think I consistently said on this channel that through all the politics, through all the rhetoric, through all the smoke and flames and fire, it's about money. Because here's what happened. In a case called National Republican Senatorial Committee versus the Federal Election Commission, case number 24-something, the court voted 6-3 to strike down a 5-year-old law. And that law put a cap on how much a political party could spend in what they call coordination with its candidates. Justice Brett Kavanaugh wrote the majority opinion, and in doing it, the court overturned its own precedent. From 2001, a case lawyers nicknamed Colorado 2, gone. Now I know the second I say coordinated party spending limits, half of you feel your eyes glaze over, right? They do it very quickly, very fast, and they do it in these bunches, but not in oats. This is the trick, family. This is the whole trick. They bury the biggest power moves inside the most boring words they can find because boring is safe, right? They use these hidden agenda terms. Even when you have these city council meetings, they don't really label the meeting for what the meeting is actually going to talk about. They use these code words to trick the people so people don't come out and protest, so people don't come out and oppose what they're trying to pass. See, this is not a boring trend. So let me unbore it for you. Coordination just means teamwork. Before this ruling, a party like the Republican Party, the Democratic Party, it doesn't matter what party it is, could work hand in hand with a candidate, but only up to a particular dollar amount. For a House race, the party could spend somewhere between about $65,000 and $130,000 in direct coordination. For a Senate race, the ceiling ran from about $130,000 up to roughly $4 million, depending on the size of the state. That ceiling was the guardrail. And as of June 30th, The guardrail is gone. The party can now coordinate as much as it wants. And believe me when I tell you this, if you have Elon Musk back in your party and he's willing to donate billions and billions of dollars, if you don't win, I mean, come on now, he can actually buy votes if he wanted to. This is what this is going to boil down to, right? They use all these legalese terms, these legislation and policies and regulation terms, but it really is about buying votes.
Fact.
Why does that matter to you? That's the question. Why does this all, why am I listening to this damn video? Why does it matter to me actually?
Why?
Because a regular person trying to keep gas in the car and food on the table, because here's the piece they do not explain on the evening news, and they probably never will.
Let's talk about that.
You, an ordinary citizen, can only give a candidate $3,500 per election. And I wish I would give a candidate that much.
He's a genius.
But nevertheless, that is the limit. That is the size of your voice. But you can hand a national party committee up to $44,300 a year. And now after this particular ruling, that party can turn around and pour that big check straight into the candidate's campaign coordinated no cap. What they mean is put it inside their pockets. So the rich donor who can afford the $44,000 check got a megaphone, because it says now, hey, listen, I'm going to give you $1 billion, but when you get in office, there are some specific things that I want you to do. I don't care what you do with the $1 billion. Use it for your campaign funds. Use it for your sons and daughters' college tuition. Okay, use it for the greatest vacation you ever been on. But these are the things I need you to get done, all right? And these can be done by executive order. This don't need to go through law and pass through the House and the Senate and have the president's signature on it. No. You can just get this done. You can write off in some sort of slush regulation account, and it'll get done and be under the weeds, have a lobbyist to promote it for you, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera.
Just send your cash.
And the working person with 3,500 or 35 or pretty much nothing just got handed a whisper. So people who thought that as a collaborative group of individuals could donate to the candidate they want in office to get $3,500, somebody can just come with $1 million.
It's huge.
That is the headline what I would write. And no network wrote it. They just legalized the rich man's megaphone. Because let me be fair, because this is what we do here. We do not perform. We diagnose. The people who won this case are not cartoon villains. They made a real argument. They said that the First Amendment protects political speech, and spending money to support a candidate is a form of that speech. Now, the NRSC Chair Senator Tim Scott and the Chair Congressperson Richard Hudson called it a decisive First Amendment victory. I knew they would say something of those lines because they know the Republican Party got a lot of money. And there is a version of this argument that actually lands. Parties are supposed to help their candidates. Why should the government tell a party it can only help a little? Even the Boston Globe ran a piece pointing out a surprising upside. That strong party spending in open and disclosed might actually be healthier than a shadow word of dark money super PACs that answers to nobody.
Oh my God.
I want you to hear that side actually, because now they're stating instead of going out of these super PACs with all this dark money being exchanged behind closed doors, we're just going to let the cap off. We're going to just let the limit off. We're just going to let them donate as much as they want. Now? Why not under the Democrats? Why under the Republicans? America First? Save America Act? No, none of that. Again, historically, Republicans, conservatives are known to be the business people or the very poor people in the Appalachians Mountain and the trailer parks. Okay. And then the Democrats, they somewhat promote and advertise they're for the less fortunate people, which more so for immigrants than anything else. And again, I'm going to talk about that. And you saw the last video that I did live, then you guys know exactly what I'm referring to. I want you to hear that side. It is not nothing, but here's the other side. And this is the side that lands harder for me. The 3 dissenting justices and the campaign finance watchdogs warned that this does not clean up the money. It just moves the flood indoors. It waters down the small dollar donor, the person chipping in $5 and $10 like myself, if I were to do it. And it hands even more leverage to the biggest checks in the country. And this did not fall out of the sky, by the way. This is the same road the court has been paving for 15 years. Citizens United in 2010, I believe, Ms. Kutcher in 2014, and now this. Brick by brick, they have been tearing down every wall built after Watergate. The scandal that taught this country what happens when money and power get in a room together with the door closed. Well, it's been doing this for quite some time. Now they're actually just saying, you know what, just open the door and let everybody see what we're doing because we don't care anymore. You see who benefits? Let me be honest and specific. CNN reported this ruling gives Republicans a real midterm boost, and the near-term math backs it up. The Republican National Committee walked into June sitting on more than $125 million in cash on hand. What I tell you, ladies and gentlemen, the Republicans got some money. Can somebody loan me something? Yeah, on zero interest. For 1,000 years, I won't be around to pay it back, but at least I have the money. This is a war chest that can now be aimed, coordinated at close races without a ceiling. Democrats lean more on small dollar, recurring donors, right? They're like, hey, can you give us $1, $2, $10 to do it, right? Because they believe that there's more Democratic people, more liberal people, more progressive people than there are Republican conservatives and people coming out the GOP. But do not get it twisted, family. This is not a Republican story or a Democratic story. Both parties will feed at this trough. The question is never just which team wins. The question is, when the party bosses and the mega donors can coordinate unlimited money, whose phone calls get returned? Because at the end of the day, if I'm a millionaire, billionaire, and I got money to kind of just donate and I can write that off of my taxes, I go to the Republican Party, I need these things done. Oh, we won't be able to do that. I'm going to the Democratic Party, I need these things done. One of these two parties are actually going to do it, and I just up the ante a little bit. What about $1 million? Well, what about 1.1 million? Ladies and gentlemen, the corruption, the fraud, scam, and abuse of the federal government and the secret, quote unquote, dark money donors is about to come to light, and they're about to donate millions and millions and millions upon campaign dollars to help their candidates to get in office. And believe me when I tell you this, if you go out to certain communities and you say, will you vote for this candidate? If you do, and we put it on record, we're going to give you $100. Do you know how many people are going to vote for $100? It's going to be a lot. And could they do that legally? Supreme Court, they're overturning and approving, and they're doing all sorts of things, right? They're doing whatever the hell they want, whenever they want. And guess what? Supreme Court justices, they don't have a term limit. They can be on the bench until the day that they die.
Oh my God.
How can you be a Supreme Court justice and not be rich? You have to be rich. Right? You're the one who can recant laws, revoke laws, invoke laws, okay? You can erroneously delete laws. You can put them back in place. They can do whatever the hell they want. That's the point I'm making.
That's just an interesting fact.
Think about a black candidate running for a House seat in the district that the National Party never treats as a priority. Think about a first-time community organizer, the kind of person we just watched shake up primaries in New York a week ago. Where does their power come from? It comes from people, from the ground, from the grassroots, from 1,000 small donation and 1,000 knocks on the door, so to speak. This is the one lane where regular folks could still out-organize big money. This ruling does not close that lane, but it widens the highway right next to it and fills it with money trucks. When the establishment can coordinate unlimited cash behind its chosen candidates, the outsider, the reformer, the person, the machine did not pick, so to speak, they are running uphill in the rain. Let me answer the question I know some of you are typing in the comments right now. Blacklogic. Why should I care about rich people's campaign money when I'm worried about rent? And that's a fair question, but here's the connection. Campaign money is not the game. It is the key to the game. The people who fund the winners are the people who get the meetings. And the people who get the meetings are the ones who write the tax code, the housing policy, the SNAP rules, the crime bills. When you widen the pipe for big money, you are not just changing the election, you are changing whose interest gets served for the next 2, 4, 6, and sometimes even 8 years. Your rent, your groceries, your kids' school, all of it downstream of who paid to put the decision makers in that chair. This is the part where folks need to slow down and pay attention, because a Supreme Court ruling about a coordinated party expenditure sounds like a headline from lawyers, but strip that suit off of it and it's a headline about the kitchen table. When your money talks louder, the people with the least money gets heard the least, does it not? You're quiet. You donate your little $3,500, your little $50, your little $10. And this is not a conspiracy, by the way. This is just the arithmetic of it all. So what do you actually do with this? Because I'm not here to leave you feeling small, unpowered, because here's the play. This raises the value of your organized vote, not lowers it. Big money can buy ads, it cannot buy a neighborhood. That already knows what it wants. A voting bloc that moves together is the one thing a checkbook cannot outshout. Follow the disclosed money. Every dollar a party coordinates is supposed to be reported to the FEC. So before the next election, look up who's funding the person asking for your vote. Is it public? Use it. Give local and give early to the people who actually knock on your door, because that is the money that still moves without permission from a party boss. And watch what happens next, because the fight is not over, ladies and gentlemen. Congress could, in theory, write new rules. The FEC could rewrite its guidance, and the Democrats who lost this one in the short term will be under pressure to either match the money game or just try to change it. Keep your eye on whether anybody in power actually tries to close the door, or whether they just quietly walk through it now that it's totally wide open. So here's the big picture, right? On June 30th, Supreme Court did not create big money in politics. That ship sailed a long time ago with dark money and behind the door deals and under school tables, whatever, however they exchange money illegally, then somehow it becomes legally. Democrats, Republicans, some independents, because all of them do it. All of them crooked, all of them backwards and hand over fist, giving each other money. Now, again, I say this a lot because I did this term paper, right? It was almost like a dissertation. And you guys can do the research yourself. Use Gemini Research too. Use all the large language models. Mostly, not all, public servants, especially on the federal level, after 3 years of being in office, majority of them become millionaires.
So don't mess with me.
Become millionaires. You're a public servant. You get paid like $135,000 a year. How in 3 years did you become a millionaire? Well, they were making money before they got in office. They must have invested right. Yeah, they invested right. Remember the rule that a lot of these politicians can see the IPO stocks before it was publicly released, and they get to invest in their pre-release IPO. Okay, IPOs is basically a stock that's going public that was once private. And then when it spikes, as soon as it drops, right? As soon as it drops into a lot of these online, repositories of how they hold the stocks, whether it be the NASDAQ, right? The New York Stock Exchange, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. They can actually invest in these stocks prior to it becoming public. And soon as it spikes, a lot of them sell their stocks and moving into ETFs and index funds. So the amount of money that they invested, 2 times, 3 times, 4 times, 5 times exponential growth, they take those earnings and they reinvest into an account that has been historically returns over 7 to 10% over the course of time. And they know what they're doing because they've been cheating the American public for so goddamn long.
Yeah, boy.
What they did was take the last real cap off the parties and call it free speech. That's all they did. And free speech, it may be, but it's free speech with your dollar. But when one man's speech comes with $44,000 behind it, and yours comes with a vote and a prayer, we need to be honest about who that megaphone actually belonged to. Money is loud, family, but organized people are even louder. If, and only if, they move together. I need for you to drop your thoughts in the comment section, hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, and share this video with somebody who needs to hear the truth behind the headlines. Because let me tell you, ladies and gentlemen, with the birthright citizenship thing not passing, the doors are open for illegal immigrants who come over here on a hope and a prayer, people who come over here on vacation and they're pregnant.
Yeah.
I call them economic opportunities. So, hey, America doors are open. If you are pregnant, if you are expecting a child within the next month, come on over to America. Stay for a couple of weeks and have your baby.
Oh my God, that is so gross.
Because we have legislations, we have rules, we have policies, and we have the Constitution.
America's going to be great again.
That if that baby is born on this soil, it's an American citizen, red-blooded American citizen. And guess what? You don't need to know English. You don't need to know the national language or supposedly the national language. No. You can come over here in a country that is suddenly becoming just a little more crowded than it's ever been before. Even with the whole ICE initiative, blah, that's not working. Because now the birthright citizenship, out the window. But again, look at my previous video that I talked about. I went live on it. You guys have a great and wonderful day.